Kevin was driving his electric wheelchair down an indoor hallway in high school when, not paying attention, he veered towards a wall and sideswiped a drinking fountain. The collision resulted in Kevin tipping out of his chair and his chair tipping over. A staff member who witnessed the incident came running over and said, "Kevin, are you okay?" From his position on the ground, Kevin answered, "Yeah." Once they got his chair and Kevin tipped upright, which is no small task, the person asked, "What happened?" Kevin responded, "Apparently, I was going too fast for the conditions." Too fast for the conditions, indeed. There are lots of stories of Kevin's poor driving. Many of you have told similar stories in the last few days. The time he drove into a glass door, the time he ran off the sidewalk, the time he tipped into a bush, the 800th time he nicked the house trim or door frame. Some of you have those marks in your houses. The time he almost drove off the dock, the time he almost drove off the boat, the time he backed my mom's minivan into my dad's truck, the time he ran over your foot or mine, it still hurts, the time he turned too sharply while training for the Special Olympics and chipped 2 teeth. You get the idea. Lucky for Kevin and us, he was surrounded by good people to pick him up and laugh heartily about it. And Kevin loved to laugh and play. Many of you have commented on shared jokes and laughing together with him in his 33 years of life. His whole face seemed to smile. He laughed with his whole being. He loved games, jokes, and being silly. He loved making faces at his niece and nephew. He loved catching fish. He loved Orlando Magic cheerleaders. He loved dessert. He loved trashy TV. He loved giving wheelchair rides. He loved many activities, even the ones my mom forced him into. Sledding, traveling, well, really most things. One of Kevin's gifts was a warm presence, and he offered that to strangers in various greeting roles at Spectrum Health and Florentines, as well as to many family and friends. It was amazing when Kevin was a patient in the hospital to watch how many doctors and nurses entered his room the same way. They would say, "I think I know you." "Oh, hi, Kevin. I usually see you greeting." And then they would smile. Since his death, the images that carry on are images of Kevin smiling and laughing. But Kevin's joy existed alongside frustration and pain. Kevin was diagnosed with a degenerative disease called histiocytosis when he was 2. He has faced declining physical and cognitive ability with various plateaus for over 30 years. He was first able to run, then walk with a walker, and finally use a wheelchair, mostly. He was able to think and interact throughout his life, but his ability for complex and quick thought declined. In his last years, his ability to communicate and eat declined. Kevin occasionally voiced frustration through questions. Why am I this way? Will I ever be able to walk again? Will I ever get married? Will I walk in heaven? Kevin wanted throughout life to contribute and be in relationship. He wanted a job, a girlfriend, and more. These human desires were complicated by his ability. Depression was a companion in later years. And yet, he rarely complained. Kevin's great uncle wrote him a short note in 2015. He said, "Kevin, you have a tough road, but I've never seen anyone handle it better than you. So keep up the good stuff you are doing. Love ya, Rich." I've heard a number of you reflect on the same sentiment about how Kevin weathered his story well. Maybe the best way to put it is he was long-suffering. He weathered his suffering with patience and grace. Long-suffering was also mixed with courage. He faced declining ability by diving in anyway. He played t-ball when he could slowly stumble to first base. He climbed a ladder and a zip line when he needed to lift up his leg with the hand not holding the rung above. When Kevin was 12, my parents took him down to Cincinnati to see a specialist. At that point, they gave him 3 to 5 years to live. Now, 20 years later, I'm grateful for Kevin's courage to face countless pokes, prods, and pills that gave him those years. He even faced death with courage. As his body weakened in later years, we discussed his end-of-life desires. He stated he did not want to be kept alive with a ventilator or feeding tube. He stated he wanted to meet Jesus sooner than later. Over the last months, Kevin's kidneys kept producing kidney stones. Those stones got stuck, which led to a cycle of infections and seizures. He formed wounds that would not heal. His body's ability to sustain itself started to break down. Slowly, we moved with Kevin towards hospice care as a graceful way to die. On Thursday, he lost the ability to respond regularly. Early Friday morning, his breathing changed, and it became clear that he was in his last hours. That day, he was ushered from this life to the next, surrounded by friends and family. And that community of saints reflected his whole life. Kevin was communal by nature and necessity. He loved people, he cherished people, he also needed people, and we needed him. As Kevin's ability declined, he was embraced by a church, schools, friends, coaches, leaders, doctors, nurses, caretakers, David's House Ministries, and so many others who helped him navigate and enjoy life. And he had a full life. He toddled around in diapers, he stole my toys, he scored a basket in a basketball game, he went swimming, he rode a Zamboni, he had a therapy cat, briefly, he built Pinewood Derby cars, he played the guitar, he visited a glacier, he went on youth group trips, he flew on private jets, he got more pictures with cheerleaders. He had friends, he learned, he laughed more, he worshiped, he loved, and was loved. He was cared for well by many of you and others, a true community of saints. It would be crazy here not to mention my parents and my mom especially. My mom and dad loved Kevin well. My mom was a persistent advocate on a journey she never expected. Both of my parents were. Learning to love the son they had rather than the one they expected. From early journeys to Ann Arbor to figure out a diagnosis and get treatment, to procuring a hospital bed from Love, Inc., because my mom thought the one Medicare would pay for was an irresponsible use of taxpayer funds. She tirelessly served and loved Kevin his whole life. Good work. And as much as we helped Kevin, he helped us. He showed me how to laugh. He showed me how about commitment. He showed me that consistent presence is often the greatest gift we can offer each other. He showed me that all is not right with the world. He showed me how to endure pain. He showed me that we need each other. He showed me that to be human is to embrace vulnerability and to desire a relationship. He showed me that in weakness is where Christ meets us. And he showed me that we can bear suffering in community. Kevin's story has been enmeshed with community, he himself being a prime contributor. And in the wonderful way that community and families can work, Kevin's story of traveling to Ann Arbor for care became a key motivator when his great Aunt Helen worked to bring a world-class children's hospital to West Michigan. Kevin was committed and unashamed. He found something he liked and he stuck to it. He loved cherry Coke and drank as much as he could until it was banned by my mom. At which point he drank it only when he could talk the rest of us into dealing for him. He did the same with strawberry milkshakes. He almost only requested to go to the Beltline Bar or Florentine's Pizza. His single-minded vacation destination became Orlando. His remarkable ability to tan may have been a prime motivator there. And he had no trouble asking anyone to help him get to Florida to watch an Orlando Magic game or a Detroit Tigers spring training game. He loved Michigan football. He loved his sports teams when they were good and bad. He did the same with friends and family. He also loved God. He was a committed Christian despite questions and frustration. About a year ago, two saints in Kevin's life, Chris and Deb, helped him purchase a Build-A-Bear for my daughter Jubilee's birthday. She loved that bear and especially the inserted voice recording. Upon squeezing its paw in Kevin's voice, it said, "I love you." And it was clear they had tried a number of times to fit that whole phrase at Kevin's pacing in a 5-second recording. That paw got squeezed often. A few months ago, my son Lazarus found the bear and loved hearing the voice recording. Upon it, he would proclaim expectantly, "Mo Kevin, Mo Kevin, Mo Kevin." I find myself wishing that same thing now. Mo Kevin, Mo Kevin, Mo Kevin. And in response, I hear Kevin saying what he said to many of us in different ways. I love you. But I also feel a growing sense of relief that he has run, walked, and stumbled a good race, that his frustration is over. Kevin, we love you. We're proud of you. We're grateful to have shared life with you. Certainly you went too fast for the conditions. May you rest in peace and rise in glory.